When I wrote this series originally, I wanted to focus on Mariah Carey's achievements surrounding Christmas. She's one of the most successful artists to venture into Christmas media. And as I went down that rabbit hole, I started to realize I was definitely going to need to do this in two parts. But what I did not expect was to stumble upon what I would call a Christmas nightmare. And I feel like this is something that we should all know about and not enough people are talking about. Now, this is your trigger warning. This topic today is going to get into some pretty heavy stuff regarding abuse, mental health, and racism, unfortunately. And as a YouTuber that does my best to follow YouTube guidelines, I'm going to have to choose my words very carefully, but also just be advised that parts of this are going to get kind of serious. And that's also why I want to thank the sponsor of my last few videos and today, Friezo. Friezo is a blended iced coffee beverage. It is incredible. I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who has gone out and picked some of this up. I hope you love it. I'm hearing so many great stories. Thank you so much for sharing them with me and keep it coming. I love to hear it. And I also have a playlist in the description below of different recipes for the holidays you can make using Friezo, and I will be updating that throughout the season. So if you're interested, you can check out the links in the description, and in checkout, you can use my code ItsKim10 for 10% off. I just am so thankful for sponsors like them because it allows creators like me to be able to express ourselves and talk about things that YouTube isn't always happy about. And without any further ado, let's go. In 2000, Universal Pictures released How the Grinch Stole Christmas, directed by Ron Howard and starring Jim Carrey and a very young Taylor Momsen. The film was a success, with a $123 million budget, and it made $345 million at the box office. Along with the film, a soundtrack was released, and the single Where Are You Christmas, performed by Faith Hill, took off. Even though the song is not what I would call iconic, it resonated with many. When you look at the comments on the music video for the song, it's full of stories from people who have struggled with finding hope or peace in the holiday season. Which makes sense, as the holidays are statistically one of the worst times when it comes to mental health. Everything from seasonal depression to the stresses of family issues and finances, and then the trigger of loss. So many suffer in silence this time of year, and while they are surrounded with messages of everything being festive and full of love and the Currier and Ives version of the holidays, that's not the reality for so many, and it can feel terribly isolating. Faith Hill's version of this song has comforted millions through the season, and it leaves the listener with a refrain of hope. That hope and joy can be found within, regardless of circumstance. But the song wasn't supposed to be Faith Hill's. It was Mariah's. She wrote it alongside James Horner, who wrote the score for the film, and Will Jennings. Horner and Jennings had previously collaborated on the Titanic soundtrack and wrote a little song called My Heart Will Go On, which went #1 pretty much everywhere. It won pretty much every major award it was nominated for, and has sold more than 18 million copies worldwide. It was a cultural phenomenon. Horner and Jennings' music demanded an epic voice, so Mariah would have been a perfect fit. She was a diva that had crossover potential and already had multiple hits of her own. Her writing on the track also made it more personal to her, and her ability to emote and connect with an audience was well established. Not only that, but she was already cemented into the public consciousness with Christmas music. This song had massive potential, not only to be a Christmas classic, but potentially an Oscar contender. And as we talked about in the first video, if a Christmas song gets picked up and is loved, that song will print money for generations. But there was one problem. Mariah Carey was in a legal dispute with Sony Music, and particularly the head of Sony Music, Tommy Motolla. Mariah Carey was signed to Sony Music. Although her contract was ending, it seemed that Mariah would not be re-signing. Universal and Sony were rivals, and Sony Music, run by Tommy Motolla, allegedly said that Mariah was not allowed to record anything on the soundtrack due to her contract with Sony. Now, Mariah did not agree with this at all because in the past she had collaborated with other artists on different labels and it had never been a problem. For those of you who aren't aware, Mariah Carey has lived a very interesting life, full of highs and lows, and a perfect example of this in her life is her relationship with Tommy Motolla. Tommy is a heavyweight in the music industry. He was the head of Sony Music for 15 years and signed artists like Celine Dion, Gloria Estefan, Shakira, Destiny's Child, and a then 18-year-old Mariah Carey. Their work relationship developed into a romantic one. They married and divorced, and what followed was one of the most bitter divorces in music history. The rumor on the street, which really, in my opinion, as we get into the context, I think you'll understand why I don't think that it's rumor, Tommy Motolla was furious at Mariah for the divorce, and he exercised any control he had left over her. And whatever power he had, he used it to punish her, which in this case meant taking away her Christmas song. As I've been reading Mariah's book and doing my own research, I found a new respect for her. Understanding her childhood trauma, the racism she experienced, the instability and the lack of safety, and then seeing her take that pain and funnel it into creating a new life for herself, it's hard not to root for her. Yes, people see the fancy, beautiful diva, but they don't see that at one time she would have to choose between riding the subway or eating. Mariah knows struggle. Mariah has also been open for years about how special Christmas is to her. As a symbol of hope, a dream, it means family, it meant security, it meant safety. And not only that, but her belief in Christmas, her faith, all of those reasons were why she made a Christmas album in the first place. Tommy knew this, and he knew it because he had been controlling Mariah's life professionally and personally for years. Tommy and Mariah married when she was 24 and he was 43. She was a prisoner in her own home, and after years of conflict, the two started marriage counseling and separated. Mariah shared a memory of when she left her home for the last time after Tommy had threatened her in front of her colleagues. He began an awkward and creepy little rant about the beautiful car he had just given me and our fabulous estate, which I designed and half-financed, and how in spite of all of it, I wanted to leave him. I was sitting still looking down at the table when Tommy walked over and picked up the butter knife from the place setting in front of me. He pressed the flat side of it against my right cheek. Every muscle in my face clenched, my entire body locked in place, my lungs stiffened. Tommy held the knife there. His boys watched and didn't say a word. After what seemed like forever, he slowly dragged the thin, cool strip of metal down my burning face. I was searing with rage from the excruciating humiliation of his terrifying, cowardly performance in my kitchen in front of my colleagues. Mariah filed for divorce, and what followed was one of the longest, most bitter divorce battles in music history. Reportedly, Where Are You Christmas was written and recorded in 1999 and into 2000, and this would have been around the time that Mariah wrote and released her album, Rainbow. Rainbow as a record has some of, in my opinion, Mariah's most personal songs to date. In particular, there's one on there called Petals. And Petals is a favorite song of mine, and it goes through different verses talking about different people that Mariah has loved, some that have hurt her, and basically how devastated she has been at points in her life due to these relationships. And there is one verse in that song that is specifically about Tommy. So many I considered closest to me turned on a dime and sold me out dutifully. Although that knife was chipping away at me, they turned their eyes away and went home to sleep. And I missed a lot of life, but I will recover, though I know you really like to see me suffer. And I wish that you and I'd forgive each other. But I miss you, Valentine. I really loved you. When Tommy was young, his stage name was TD Valentine. Separate from Tommy, Mariah was processing losing so many people in her life and her whole world changing. So many of the people she had collaborated with creatively basically sided with Tommy. This wasn't just a divorce for Mariah. This affected every part of her life, professional and personal. Mariah wrote about this in her book saying, "No matter who I was talking to at the label, Tommy was still in control. There was no one above him at Sony Music. Everything had to go through him. And when I began to have conversations about getting off the label, I was blocked at every turn. Tommy had a vendetta against me, and he used his power to hold me hostage." While promoting Rainbow, Mariah decided she wanted to release a song called Can't Take That Away From Me, Mariah's Theme, as a single. The song spoke to Mariah's belief and confidence in herself. "They can say anything they want to say, try to bring me down, but I will not allow anyone to succeed in hanging clouds over me. And they can try hard to make me feel that I don't matter at all, but I refuse to falter in what I believe or lose faith in my dreams. 'Cause there's a light in me that shines brightly, and they can try, but they can't take that away from me." She received a lot of pushback at the label and ultimately decided to fund her own music video for the project. She says in the book that the song didn't chart because Sony Music refused to promote it, and that this marked the beginning of their sabotage campaign. And that sabotage campaign would last for years, even impacting the glitter fiasco. Throughout Mariah's book, she talks about her marriage with Tommy and some of the controlling things that he did, but as I started reading it, I couldn't help but remember this clip of Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was not a fan of Tommy Motolla. I have the clip for you here, but I want to stress that Michael speaking this way was very out of character for him. Sure, he had feuds, but he very rarely put people on blast like this.
And Tommy Motolla is a devil.
But Michael felt very strongly that Tommy Motolla was taking advantage of black artists. Sony had screwed him over in the past by not promoting his album Invincible. The history between Sony and Michael Jackson is loaded, but let's just say they did not have a very good relationship. But Michael felt very strongly about standing up for other artists. So Michael was trying to get Tommy Motolla fired and off of Sony Music because of all of these things that he had done. And speaking about it publicly, he had this to say.
I'm not supposed to say what I'm going to say right now, but I have to let you in on a secret.
Say it.
Please don't videotape what I'm going to say, okay? Turn that off, please. Know what? I don't mind. Tape it. Mariah Carey, after divorcing Tommy, came to me crying. She was crying so badly I had to hold her. And she said to me that this is an evil man. And Michael, this man follows me, she said. He taps her phones. And he's very, very evil, and she doesn't trust him. And he is a horrible human being. And we have to continue our drive until he's terminated.
Mariah Carey is biracial, and she wrote in the book that Tommy wanted to wash the urban off of her. He limited what she could wear and how she could style her hair, trying to control her image. Tommy also wanted Mariah to stay in adult contemporary music, but Mariah really wanted to incorporate more R&B and hip-hop. And from what I've read, I interpreted that Tommy really only allowed Mariah to branch into R&B and into hip-hop because he saw that they could financially benefit from making the move. But he really seemed to have a disdain for it. But getting back to Where Are You Christmas? Understanding everything in context, the lyrics are interesting. Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you? Why have you gone away? Where is the laughter you used to bring me? Why can't I hear music play? My world is changing. I'm rearranging. Does that mean Christmas changes too? I can't help but hear Mariah struggling here. Her dreams of family, safety, security, and the joy and hope of Christmas, it seemed like everything had been taken from her here. Her friends, her family, so many dreams just destroyed. And now Christmas too. But the interesting thing is the pop version of the song, which based on my research Mariah had more input in, it ends on a refrain of hope. I feel you, Christmas. I know I've found you. You never fade away. The joy of Christmas stays here inside us, fills each and every heart with love. Again, Mariah is getting back up. She's rebuilding her dreams. She's moving on, and Tommy couldn't have that. He couldn't allow it. I mean, think about it. This man had been controlling her for years, taking every opportunity to take away her hope and her independence. There's no way he could have allowed it. He couldn't have Mariah have a potentially massive song for a competitor and have a song that's about something that made her happy. Just like the other song he tried to silence, he couldn't allow the light in Mariah to shine. In my opinion, this was his revenge. And the jerk even did it on Christmas.
And call off Christmas.
Like, I'm sorry. Merry Christmas to everyone except Britney's dad, Lou Taylor, and Tommy Motolla. But getting back to Where Are You Christmas? Mariah has spoken publicly about the song in recent years. She's confirmed that she recorded a demo and that it is somewhere in her vault. She said she would love to release it, but the demo is rough. She still seems to have a soft spot for the song, but there does seem to be some hesitation. With all the research I did, I kind of understand that. I feel like this song likely caused Mariah a lot of pain. It's devastating to have your voice taken away. And I do feel like this situation is an illustration of how terrible Tommy could be. But the happy ending does come with this song. Although Mariah has had more ups and downs in her life, she didn't let any of the downs define her. She kept writing, she kept singing, and she created a chosen family for herself. She's now a mother of 2 children, her twins Moroccan and Monroe. Mariah has also been with her current partner Brian since 2016, and by all accounts it seems to be a healthy and happy relationship. Although they are fiercely private, Brian is very supportive of Mariah. She has also experienced more professional success with groundbreaking albums like The Emancipation of Mimi. Tommy's plan to sabotage Mariah did not work, and she rose up, took back what was hers, and cemented herself as a music icon, and that was done without him. She also took back her Christmas. She released a new holiday album, Merry Christmas to You, in 2010, and since then she's done multiple Christmas concert tours, Christmas specials, movies, books, all to share the joy and hope of the season. I struggle to think of another entertainer who has made more of an impact consistently on Christmas culture. But Mariah has a purpose in this, and she's a passion for the holidays, and it's so obvious once you start to look at it. Christmas is personal for her. It's almost like she's Mrs. Claus trying to bring the holiday joy to everyone. She doesn't ignore the darkness in the world, but decides to focus on the positive and the optimism of the new year. It's about family, faith, and memories. It's about the heart of Christmas. To me, Where Are You Christmas is a reminder that sometimes the holidays aren't so merry. That life goes on. Even with heartbreak, obstacles, and loss, there can be redemption. And even when it feels like the whole world is against you, a new day is dawning and you can't give up. Another Christmas will come, and maybe it will be better. I know how it feels to dread the holidays and to want to just make it all stop. And if that's you this year, I hope that you can take strength from Mariah's story. I hope you can find that joy and resilience within yourself. I'm glad you're here, and I wish you a happy holiday and a wonderful new year. That's it. Much love. Bye.